So it's a knockdown, drag 'em out match in the GOP. They're going to try to vote. Uh, is it Liz Cheney? Yeah, Liz Cheney out and out of her leadership caucus leader and the caucus chair actually, or I think it's going to call it conference chair. The Democrats call it caucus, Republicans call it conference. As a conference chair, replace her with Liz Stefanik, and boy, it's quite the battle. What's your take?
Yeah, it's interesting. Liz, and even to a greater respect, like people like Adam Kinzinger, are they took the bet of that the Republican Party was going to move on from Trump. It's clear that that wasn't going to be the right call. They bet on the wrong horse in that sense. Look, when Liz is looked at like a liberal amongst the right, then we're in a really bad place because Liz is obviously. It's not like she votes for anything on the left, right? She just said what she said about Trump, which was the truth, and that the January 6th was an insurrection. Everybody said it, right? McConnell, McCarthy, Cruz, they all said it on that day. If you remember Lindsey Graham saying, I'm out, I'm out, I'm out, this isn't for me anymore. And then what ended up happening was they kept realizing that the only way to tap into the GOP was going to be Trump and his Trump space, because that's the Trump party now. Remember I said this before even Trump or Biden was inaugurated. This is Trump's party. This is not like which side is the coin going to flip. This is Trump's party. This is going to go this way. So it's going to be interesting to see what Liz and people who are not kissing the ring, if you will, gonna do. But yeah, look, the Republican Party is gonna run with this. They don't, but at some point, January 6th is gonna be a peaceful hippie protest, and they're gonna get to that point where they're gonna paint it that way. So it's gonna be interesting to see how that goes.
Well, the thing that I think is fascinating is the fact that you have a party that is messed up, and you have people who, like Liz Cheney, and just so you know, under normal circumstances, Liz Cheney is a whack job herself. If you look at if you look at all of this stuff going on in the party and some of the stuff, even when she wrote the op-ed, she decided to take a swing at woke culture, right? And the I think the problem is that when the moral compass of the Republican Party does not exist, even with Liz Cheney, um, but if she's considered to be the moral compass, then you get the whack jobs like the Matt Gates, who we'll talk about in a few minutes, and the uh, Marjorie Taylor Greene, because the party in and of itself is so whacked up. And the one thing that I'm really angry about is everybody in the press is trying to act like Liz is some moderate and she's sympathetic. She's not a sympathetic character. Look at her record. The reality is you have bad and worse. There's no such good things. There's no such good thing as good operators, good faith operators in the Republican Party right now. Adam Kinzinger is just as bad. They're not as bad as Gates and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Boebert, but the median of decency in the Republican Party is just non-existent.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. We can't pat them on the back for telling the truth. That's all Liz Cheney's doing is just telling the truth of that particular thing, and we're acting like she's just like a hero. It's just not true, right? We're just the Republicans are looking at her because she's enemy number one. I also think that, believe it or not, John, I also think some of this is those attacks on Biden that are not working, and the GOP always wants a culture war. They always want to dominate the headlines by making up stuff, and none of the stuff with Biden sticking as much. And you see them talking about Hillary and Barack all the time. There was a question that Jen Psaki had this week that was like, "Is this just Obama Part 3?" Like they're looking for something to grapple with, and maybe just the Liz Cheney is bait for the bottom feeders, if you will. They just need something to throw there, until they could get the party going and get voters for 2022. Look, there's a lot of people on the right who think that 2022 is going to be a red wave. They think they're going to take over the House. They think McCarthy's going to be number one powerful Republican. They also want Trump to, I don't know if you saw this, but they want Trump to run for Congress and become the Speaker of the
No,
House in
well, actually, you don't
2022.
have to run for
There's a
Congress to
lot.
be Speaker. You and I could be Speaker. Anyone could be Speaker.
Yeah, I read that. Yeah, I read that. Someone had correct. It was Steve Bannon who said that, I think. Um, so they're in a place where you're right. We can't pat Liz Cheney or Kinzinger on the back for telling the truth. But this is the fight that we're up against. Is this is a political party who's going to lie, cheat, and steal all the way until they can get what they want. How do we combat that? Is there a way to combat that? I don't have the answer for it. We saw. Remember, I brought up to you this week. I wonder if we could start suing. Like, can Pfizer sue Tucker Carlson? Can these? We saw Dominion sue and actually end up being on the positive end of that. So I just wonder if we could fight this disinformation. I'm not sure it's plausible on social media.